could be 20 to 35 parameters service wide, and each of these services have their own set of parameters. Play with that yourself. Yeah. So remember that diagram I drew before in terms of a 1 gig file? Okay, and by default, that 1 gig file, if you actually want to store that in Hadoop, it will be chunked into into 128 blocks, megabyte blocks. So there'll be 8 blocks from that 1 gig file. But where does that 128 megabyte come from? What if I wanted a different number? What if I wanted 64 megabyte blocks or larger, 256 megabyte blocks? This is as someone who's administrating a cluster, or as someone who's designing a cluster, needs to understand the data. And let's say it's compressed data, the data is compressed heavily, you may want to increase or decrease the block size. Okay, so if you look at this, HDFS block size by default is 128 megabytes. So I can go in, if somebody actually wants to change the default, I can go in and change it to 64. Okay, I could put a reason for change, and that's really good because somebody else can come afterwards and say, who the hell changed this to 64 megabytes? Why did they do that? You can see the reasons for the change, and then they can read it and say, whoa, that's crazy. That doesn't make sense, and they can revert the change. So again, this brings a lot to the table. So if within your environment, within your enterprise, you have this change management stuff, so you need to obviously document each of the changes that goes on within production, that the operation team needs. They can put additional information here, which somebody can then log in and see all the changes that's occurred, and the rationale, the reason for the changes, and revert the changes back if they do or do not make sense. Okay,